transport of German troops by sea, which the Allies could impede but could not stop. The British Navy unable to control the narrow, perilous straits of the Skagerrak. Nazi Germany could reinforce the invading army by the water route, a dominant reason why the Allies were compelled to withdraw from southern Norway. Yet the Nazi Navy lost heavily in warships and transports. A depth bomb. The convoy is explosively hunting submarines. The Allies operate against the Nazi communications line with submarine attack and mines, so submarine patrol boats search with high explosive. Nazi air power played a decisive part in the German success. A seaplane base in a Norwegian fjord from which to operate. By the sky route, they swiftly transported troops and equipment, running fleets of air transports. They seized all the good airports, fatal handicap to the Allied campaign. The Oslo flying field, airplane troops landed by the thousands. Meanwhile, air power was deadly effective on the battlefield and challenged British sea power. The Nazi capture of southern Norway, as pictured in film, passed by German censorship. Seizure of a neutral nation by a sudden surprise blow secretly planned. Troops that occupied southern Norway in a swift campaign, which in motorized battle was the climax of aggression. A British destroyer, one of a squadron that dashed into Narvik harbor and shot it out with shore batteries and Nazi destroyers. In a previous attack, British ships were repelled with loss, but this time they blast the warcraft and merchant vessels in the port. Pictures passed by the London censor. They were made by a sailor aboard one of the ships in the attack. The battle in the harbor at Narvik, one of the foremost naval exploits of the war. They shell every German vessel in sight. The port is a litter of sinking ships. You can see a sunken German destroyer and one that has been beached. The camera surveys the naval battle at Narvik and the wrecks of the Nazi craft that were sunk. That German submarine, now manned by a British crew, was captured in one of the surprise episodes of the war. A Hudson bomber spotted the U-boat on the surface and attacked it with gunfire. With depth bombs from the plane also threatening, the submarine surrendered. The undersea raider is taken to England and is received with cheers, a claim for a dramatic exploit of the war at sea. The lair of the wolf packs of the undersea, and a Nazi U-boat returns from a cruise, returns boasting of a 10,000-ton American tanker sunk. We can follow the prowler into its den in these motion pictures captured from the Germans. The submarine pens with massive concrete roofs, protection against air bombs. British and American bombers have attacked the Lorient submarine base repeatedly and have blasted installations to wreckage, but the U-boats are strongly protected in the concrete pens. They must be blasted out of their holes here on the west coast of France, the strategic base from which they issue to raid the Allied supply lines across the Atlantic. This film, seized from the enemy, takes us into their lair and reveals the lurking place of the wolf packs. Allied bombers have struck smashing blows at Lorient, and the latest to be launched shows this result. The submarine pens are indicated as the first bombs hit them. Hundreds of ponderous charges of high explosive rain down on the enemy base, and the blasts engulf the pens of the wolves of the undersea. The work of the warplanes, the kind of effort into which our income tax, your money and mine, must go.
September 17, 1944. The morning fog hung thick over the Ardennes forest, muffling the distant rumble of artillery and masking the movements of thousands of soldiers hidden within the trees. Private Eric Hansen adjusted the straps of his worn helmet, shivering as the chill of early autumn seeped through his uniform. Today he would face a mission that could alter the fate of his unit. or end it entirely. The German forces had struck with terrifying speed, cutting through the forest like a phantom. For weeks, Eric's company had navigated treacherous terrain in silence, sleeping in shallow foxholes and relying on whispers for communication. Every soldier knew that a single misstep could mean death. Yet camaraderie and a faint hope of returning home held them together. Eric's diary, tucked safely beneath his jacket, had become both a lifeline and a confidant. Each night he poured his fears, thoughts, and fleeting hopes onto its fragile pages. Today, that diary would witness a story that history might otherwise forget. The target was a German supply depot deep behind enemy lines, reportedly stocked with ammunition, food, and critical communications equipment. Intelligence suggested that capturing or destroying it could save countless lives, but the risks were enormous. Sergeant Miller gathered the strike team in a small clearing, his voice steady yet urgent. "This is not a mission for glory," he said. "It is a mission for survival and for the lives of those who depend on us. Move swiftly, strike silently, and trust one another." Eric swallowed hard, glancing at the men around him. Faces were tense with determination and fear alike. He thought of his family, his mother, his younger sister, the small town he had left behind. Would he ever see them again? By mid-morning, the unit reached the depot perimeter. Smoke rose faintly from chimneys, and guards patrolled with mechanical precision. Every shadow, every sound could betray them. The team moved silently into position. With careful precision, they neutralized sentries and slipped inside the depot. What they found went beyond supplies. Hidden among crates were documents detailing troop movements, supply lines, and communications. The intelligence could shift the balance of the forest battle, but extracting it would be perilous. Suddenly, a shout pierced the tense silence. Reinforcements had arrived. Chaos erupted. Bullets whizzed past, crates splintered under gunfire, and small explosions shook the ground. Eric ducked behind a fallen beam, pulling a wounded comrade with him. His diary had fallen from his jacket. For a moment he stared at its familiar pages, then gritted his teeth and pressed forward. He would survive. He had to. The retreat through the forest was harrowing. The team fought their way past the perimeter, sustaining losses but managing to escape into the dense trees. By dusk, the survivors reached relative safety, bruised and exhausted, clutching both the documents and the memory of comrades who would not return. That night, Eric wrote in his diary, "We faced death today and held our ground. Some friends did not return, but their courage will live in every word I write. History may forget this place, this mission, but I will not." September 18, 1944. The forest felt quieter, but danger still lurked. The strike team gathered to assess their losses and plan the next step. Sergeant Miller spoke solemnly. "Tonight we push further. The intelligence must reach headquarters. Without it, all this sacrifice will be in vain."